What was even more creepy is I wasn't watching the movie with subtitles, so when she was talking to Edith, I didn't know what she said. I just knew it was bad. She was like, and I was like, oh, hell
Beware
no.
of Crimson Peak. Which I'm like, way to go, Mom. Why can't you just be like, beware of Thomas Sharp?
Yeah, if you see Loki show up in your town, you gotta go.
Just run.
All the way run.
Hello and welcome to the Art of Costume Blogcast. I'm Elizabeth Joy Glass.
And it is I, Spencer Williams.
It is you, Spencer.
Hey, Elizabeth.
How are you feeling?
I'm good. I have a little bit of a cold this week, but I'm getting through it. You know, just taking it day by day, trying my best to stay healthy. I think it just worked too much.
I think you do too. I think that might be the root of the problem.
Yeah, probably should drink some more water too, but that can't be it.
Yeah.
Actually, what am I saying?
Real water.
I drink a lot of LaCroix. It's keeping me energized. How was your week?
It was fine. We're dealing with an ant situation in our kitchen.
Ew.
We have to call somebody, so.
I hate summer. See, it's just bugs, heat, the sun. Everything about summer just makes me mad. The bugs love to come out during the summer.
I mean, I'm personally a fan of the summer, but I do understand your issues with it.
Sometimes I just want to move to Alaska and just enjoy those days of night.
I think they'll pay you to move to Alaska.
Oh, well, Alaska, if you're listening, I might be interested, so send me some information.
Yeah.
Perhaps a booklet or a brochure.
Some information on your great state. You know who else decided to move to a far-off land, Spencer?
Oh, nice transition. I think I know where you're going with this.
Edith Cushing. This week, we watched Crimson Peak.
Yes. I never seen this movie before, but I know that this is one of Elizabeth's personal favorites, and I really enjoyed it. This is a great way to start off our spooky season.
This is like top 5 favorite costume movies. The story, I'm like a little like iffy on, even though it is a very good story. It is a little hard to follow, but it's such a beautiful movie. Like, there's no arguing that it's a good movie.
Yeah, it was a little hard to follow at first, a little slow at first, but once you, like, get into it, I really loved it. I stopped what I was doing. I was like, okay, I'm actually getting into it. Let's do this.
Yeah, and I think part of it is, like, I'm not a huge fan of gothic romance, and I feel like he really wrote it as such, so I feel like that's part of the reason it's paced a little bit weird.
Well, I just kept telling myself, this is a Guillermo del Toro film, so you're going to like it. Just give it some time, and I was right. You just got to give it some time. Guillermo del Toro has never once disappointed me in my life.
He doesn't disappoint. He does not disappoint.
Well, with that, I think I'm going to give a little summary on this movie, Crimson Peak.
You do that, Spencer.
Oh, why thank you. So, for summary. After marrying the charming and seductive Sir Thomas Sharp, young Edith finds herself swept away to his remote Gothic mansion in the English hills. Also living there is Lady Lucille, Thomas's alluring sister and protector of her family's dark secrets. Able to communicate with the dead, Edith tries to decipher the mystery behind the ghostly visions that haunt her new home. As she comes closer to the truth, Edith may learn that true monsters are made of flesh and blood.
Ooh, spooky.
It's spooky season here at the Art of Costume Blogcast, finally.
It is spooky season. If you don't want your spooks spoiled, stop right now. Go watch it. You've had 6 years.
Yes. So excited. All right, bring us behind the wardrobe.
I will bring you behind the wardrobe. This amazing wardrobe was brought to you by costume designer Kate Hawley and director Guillermo del Toro. Her notable work is Pacific Rim. That was actually her first costume design role, also with Guillermo del Toro.
Wow, was it really?
Yeah.
Impressive.
As costume designer. Edge of Tomorrow, Suicide Squad, the first one.
Not the one that we talked about last week, the one before that.
And she's currently working on Lord of the Rings TV series.
Is she really?
Yes.
Oh, I cannot wait.
Do you want to know how she met Guillermo del Toro?
I would like to know, yes.
She was set to be the costume designer on his version of The Hobbit.
Whoa. There was his version of The Hobbit somewhere?
There was a point in time where he was meant to direct the Hobbit movies. He moved to New Zealand. He was starting production. I don't know exactly what happened, but he ended up having to leave it.
Huh. I think I remember this now. It's coming back to me. That's crazy, but also exciting.
Yeah, he was set to be the director for a long time.
That would have been interesting to see. I would like to see what he would have done with it. I still love the Hobbit movies, but it would have been interesting to see that.
Yeah, they're fun. I feel like his would have been just incredible.
But anyways, back to Kate Hawley. I mean, that's quite the impressive resume there.
She's definitely making her mark. I believe she comes from a theater background, but she's made her way into film, and I love it.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, she does a great job, and apparently her and Del Toro have a really close working relationship, so she was ready to do this. She knows his style. The silhouettes are all Victorian, but they did take some liberty with the details, because Del Toro's very symbolic in every aspect of his filmmaking, so they're the silhouettes, Victorian. Everything else, it fits the period, but they weren't afraid to go a little bit off to service the story.
I just realized that we've never covered a Victorian period-based costume yet, so this is exciting.
We haven't. And this is a little bit later. I believe the movie takes place in the 1890s, so it's the tail end of Victorian, kind of going into Edwardian, Gibson Girl territory, which you see especially in that first ball scene. So it's really interesting. I love what she did. Pretty much everything was handmade. They just took it to the 110. They went all the way. And most of the costumes in terms of symbology revolve around Edith, our hero, and Lucille, the sister. So for Edith, she was supposed to represent fertility, growth, warmth, and richness, because she's the heiress to her father's huge architecture firm wealth. And there's a picture, The Bridesmaid, by Sir John Everett something. Malaise? I don't know. An old-timey portrait. And it's this woman with her hair down, just covering most of her, and she has this yellow dress peeking out underneath. And this was kind of the main inspiration for Edith's whole look. In contrast to her, Lucille was supposed to be barren, show starvation, so blues, blacks, just dark, dark, dark.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I love this movie. I love the costuming, and I did love the variation in the costumes that told a different story for each of the different characters. That was very evident in the colors they used and the silhouettes. I enjoyed it so much.
Yes. So let's take a little break, and then we'll jump right into the movie.
Ooh, I cannot wait.
All right, and we are back. Are you ready to jump into this, Spencer?
I'm ready. I'm scared, but I'm ready.
So, as a young girl in Victorian America, Edith Cushing is visited by the ghost of her mother, who gives her a rather cryptic warning of bewaring Crimson Peak, the night that they bury her mother. So, not traumatizing at all for young little Edith.
No, not at all.
Not at all. I love young Edith in this because Victorian children, we don't get to see them in film a lot outside of being very, very creepy. So I love her nightgown in these first couple scenes because it's almost like foreshadowing what's going to happen in the rest of the movie. Just like the way the light hits it when she's in the hallway with the moths. It's so beautiful, and it's like, oh, this is gonna be serious.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling you during a break, the fabrics in this movie are stupid good. I loved it so much, and I love how the little girl, she was giving me kind of Annabelle vibes when the light was hitting her.
Yeah. Full on Annabelle vibes with her. Even creepier, though, is the ghost of her mother.
Yeah, I was scared. I was like, I don't know what's going on here, but she is scary. I love the fabric once again, that black, really kind of falling apart fabric. Ooh, is stunning, though.
I know. It's so scary. I love, like, how skeletal she is. The ghosts in this are very unique. It's not something, like, we see, and it's like, oh, clearly she's in what they buried her in with, like, the black veil, the black clothing, and it's so creepy.
I was creeped out. What was even more creepy is I wasn't watching the movie with subtitles, so when she was talking to Edith, I didn't know what she said. I just knew it was bad. She was like, and I was like, oh, hell no.
Beware of Crimson Peak. Which I'm like, way to go, Mom. Why can't you just be like, beware of Thomas Sharp?
Yeah, if you see Loki show up in your town, you gotta go.
Run.
Okay?
Just run.
All the way run.
All the way run. And just the detailing on it with the little... You can't really see them in the film, but there's these little, like, moth-looking things, like, trapped in her tulle skirt. Like, really beautiful. The fully pleated sleeves, which I love the pleating in this. Like, it gives just so much more movement to the clothing. Beautiful. Beautiful and creepy.
So much detail. I loved it.
It's beautiful. Well, her little encounter with her creepy ghost mother inspires her to be, you know, just a gothic romance writer. When she grows up, she has a whole book ready. And she's like, all right, I'm going to go speak to a publisher about getting this out there. She's really excited. She runs into her old friend, Dr. Alan McMichael, and she's like, oh, you're back. Awesome. He's like, yeah. Back from abroad, got back from school, and then his mother and sisters come around the corner, and they're just like, oh, you want to be a writer? Completely disparage her ambitions.
Yeah, they were so rude. I didn't know what they were being rude about, but yeah, I didn't like them at all.
It's the 1890s. If you weren't a woman trying to get married, you were nothing.
What I did like was Edith's first costume we see her in that, like, yellow golden tone. Ugh, I just want to touch this fabric so bad. It looks so beautiful.
Yeah, so she wears gold a lot, and that's meant to represent her wealth. And as
she's rich.
She is rich. She is an American heiress in the best way possible. And that is meant to represent her wealth. I like that they dyed Mia... The way they dye her hair to be that really, like, rich gold blonde and not, like, a white blonde, it sets it off perfectly so that it looks good on her. It complements her. I love this first outfit when she's going to meet the publisher. It's very stylish with, like, her big sleeves, the cut, the hat with the little netting over it. Super stylish, but, like, kind of simple. And it's like... oh, that's right, like, she was raised by a practical man. So, like, yeah, she has the money where, like, it all looks stunning, but she's not, like, trying to wear the most ridiculous fashion like Mrs. McMichael and her daughters.
Yes, 100%. They're doing the absolute most. But then again, I still love... I'm just going to keep talking about the fabrics in this episode of the Art of Costume Blogcast because... the, like, velvet textures they have, so beautiful. Are they doing the most? Yeah, not practical, not at all. But it's so good, though.
It's so beautiful. The way she mixes, like, those velvet with the, like, it looks like either, like, a brocade or, like, a heavier silk on Mrs. McMichael's jacket. It's beautiful. And I love her son in contrast. Like, he's just like a young, laid-back guy, not even wearing a jacket. This is Victorian England. What a rebel, not wearing his jacket in public.
Ooh, how dare he?
But with his mother, he's just like, really? Come on. I love Alan. He's a great character. And it's like, I love you can see him and Edith. It's like, oh, he clearly has a thing for her. And she's just kind of like, okay, I've known you my entire life.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Edith has a bad taste in men, as we will soon find out.
Yeah, she's young. She learned her lesson.
Yeah.
I love her comeback to Mrs. McMichael, who's like, oh, our very own Jane Austen. Didn't she die like a spinster or something? And she's like, oh no, I'd rather be Mary Shelley. She died a widow. I was like, that's such a sick comeback.
That's so funny. Elizabeth's like, ooh, I love that one.
If you know your female 18th century female writers, great burn.
Great burn. Sick comeback, bro.
Sick comeback. So, obviously, because the publisher is just a man in the 1800s, they reject her book because they say it needs a romance in it. And he comments on her handwriting quite a bit. So she's like, you know what? I'm going to go to my dad's office where they have the cool new typewriter. So she can disguise her handwriting. And who walks in but a prospective business partner of her father, Sir Thomas Sharp, Baronet, who thinks she's the secretary and compliments her writing because he's a little snoop and he just picks it up off the desk and is like, oh, I'll just read this for a moment. He very quickly realizes she is Miss Cushing and then goes on to give a very impassioned demonstration of his clay mining machine to Mr. Cushing. But Mr. Cushing is like, yeah, no. And sends him away kind of embarrassed.
Yeah, I love these scenes. I also the glasses on Edith. I love them. They age her up, though. Do you think? They
definitely age her up. And it's like, they make her look very bookish, which I feel like is the point in these scenes.
Yeah. She goes very glamorous to like almost like a different librarian character really quick. All it takes is those glasses. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I love it. And I love this scene because she really does look like the secretary. Like, her and the actual secretary behind her have like the same silhouette shirt on. But it's like, clearly she's richer because, like, there's triple the amount of fabric in her dress just to do all those little pleats in it.
Oh, yeah. It's pleated to the gods. It's a beautiful shirt.
It's a beautiful shirt. She's got the little, like, pin to keep her tie in place. Super adorable. And then there's Mr. Cushing, where it's like, you can kind of see where she gets her style sense. Because he, as well, looks very, very good. You'll realize later on, it's important to him that he look good, but very simple. And then we have Mr. Thomas Sharp, looking like the snazziest Brit that ever crossed the Atlantic.
Yeah, he looks good. I love his costume. I love the black. All I can see is Loki.
I know. It's kind of hard to separate the two.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh, Loki, what are you doing here?
Yeah. And Edith can't see anything but him either, because later on, she's helping her dad get ready for the McMichaels party. And she's like, did you have to be so harsh with Thomas? He's trying hard. And his dad's like, there's just something about him. I don't like him. And I love, he can tell she was paying attention because she was like, his clothes were beautiful, but they were 10 years old. Like, they were starting to be worn out. Like, all these little things that, like, yeah, he kept his clothes nice, but they're old. They're, like, a little bit out of fashion. And he's like, I just don't like it. Please come to this party with me. And she's just like, no, I'm staying in. I do not want to go to the party with Alan in his new car. Which I'm like, that would have gotten me back then. I would be like, car? Let me see. But she's like, no, thank you, Alan. Have a good night. And she's like, I'm going to settle in, work on my book. And her mother's ghost shows up to just scare the shit out of her.
Yeah, for no reason.
for no reason to repeat this very cryptic warning yet again.
She's like, don't you dare bring your ass to Crimson Peak. And her daughter's like, Mom, I do not know what you are talking about, so please stop scaring me like this.
What is Crimson Peak? I don't understand.
Please leave me alone.
I'm trying to work. So we have Alan and Mr. Cushing looking very dapper. I love how, like, concerned Mr. Cushing is. He's like, do you think I need a corset? It's like, dude, you look fine.
No, Dad, you do not need a corset.
You don't need a corset. You look great. And this is like the first of like many spectacular night outfits she will wear. Again, that gold in the velvet and the flower motif is something you're gonna see quite a bit. That's one of Edith's big motifs throughout this is flowers. And also, the way the costumes interact with the light, because, like, when she's with her father, when she's with Alan just around the house, her outfit looks very cozy and pleasant and, like, homey. But when her mom shows up and it's all dark, it's just, like, she looks uncomfortable and scared, and it just, like, drains the shine out of the fabric.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with the color. It's so pretty. And the lighting in this film against all the different colors, it's just flawless. It's
flawless. However, Edith does not make flawless decisions because her mother upset her so much that when Thomas Sharp drops by to be like, hey, can I take you to the party? She's like, no, yeah, I'll go with you. And at the party, Thomas's sister, Lady Lucille, she's entertaining the guests with her mad piano skills. And unlike everybody else, she's like not super surprised when Edith shows up with Thomas. Because everyone was like, oh, isn't he supposed to be here for Miss Michael? And then when he asked Edith to dance, everyone's like, uh-oh. But you know what? She looks good, so they can all shut up. Also, Lucille looks incredible.
I think this is my favorite costume of the film. I love that red, I guess it's a crimson color, actually.
Yeah.
That, like, crimson color with all the pleating in it, the long train. I mean, Jessica Chastain just looks incredible in this film. I know she's a little on the evil side, but I think she might be my favorite.
A lot on the evil side, but this is like one of her best roles, I think, especially because you forget that it's Jessica Chastain. You completely forget about this when she's in this role.
Yeah.
So this dress they called the Drop of Blood dress.
Ooh.
This was not originally a planned look for her. She was supposed to wear the black dress we see her in throughout the rest of their stay in America. She was supposed to be wearing that, like, the whole time. Because, you know, they're poor, they're down on their luck. But 2 weeks before, Del Toro and Jessica were like, there needs to be something else. And even Guillermo del Toro says he's like, we didn't have, like, any money left to make this dress.
Wow.
And Kate, she was like, he comes 2 weeks before, and she's like, she knew he wanted something crazy. And she was like, the blue dress took 6 weeks. And, like, that was after prototyping. So she was like, we don't have time for this. But she made it work. Like, they pulled this together in 2 weeks. They put so much detail into it. It's insane. So the lacing in the back is supposed to look like her skeleton. You're really supposed to be able to, like, feel her bones coming out of it. Also, they wanted the dress to be red to match the ring. Because it's like, you know, she is the lady of Crimson Peak, and she's not going to let anybody take that away from her.
Yeah. I wish the audience could see these detail photos that you're showing me right now, because the detailing, I didn't even notice, like, the skeletal structure going down her spine. That is amazing.
It's insane. And so it was like a little, like, video featurette where he was like, we did not have the money to do this. So I was like, what was their production budget? They only had $55 million to make this. That was it.
That's not that much.
That's not that much. And, like, by this point, like, everyone in this is, like, a pretty well-known actor. So, you know, they were getting paid well.
Heck yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you did not have any money. But, like, it looks like they had money on this movie.
Yeah, I mean, that dress looks expensive, but so good. I'm obsessed with it. I think that's my favorite costume in the entire movie, and I'm pretty sure she's my favorite character. I'm just going to say it.
That's not surprising. She has Cersei vibes.
That's what it is.
Complete and utter Cersei vibes. Now, I love that in this scene, Edith is just the complete opposite of her. She looks like just the perfect, like, angel character in this scene with, like, the white top, just all satin and, like, just delicate pearl details. Like, again, beautiful, but very simple.
Yeah, she's giving real angel vibes to me. I love that Liberace cape, like, collar that she has around her neck. That's flawless. I love that.
Yeah. It's beautiful. There's also, I couldn't really get a good picture of it, but there's, like, a black piece of, like, fabric detail in the back that kind of, like, offsets the whole look very nicely. So it's just like, oh my gosh, it's, like, look after look. And again, when you see her in the, like, crowd of people, it's like she's the most simply dressed person there, but by far the best looking person.
I do feel like Lucille might be the best looking person there, but I agree. Edith is definitely up there.
Lucille is definitely a close second. But, after this, her father is getting a bit concerned, so he hires Mr. Hawley, a private investigator, and he's like, I need you to look into these two. He's like, I don't think they're up to any good. Edith visits Alan at his office. He's like, ooh, let me show you my collection of ghost photos. And he's also like, hey, I don't know about the Sharps. So everyone's down on the Sharps. I love Mr. Hawley. I don't know if it's just because, like, I like that actor, Vern Gorman. He's, like, one of the best English character actors. He's in, like, 1,000,002 things.
I love his suit. It says investigator all over it.
I know. It's very, like, Sherlock Holmes vibes. And then I love Mr. Sharp. He's just, like, at his club getting ready in his robe. And he's like, hey, I need you to look at these people for me.
So spooky. I wanted to know, too. I was like, something is up with these two people. Like, when you saw Lucille playing on the piano in that crimson dress, you're like, okay, this girl has a story.
Absolutely. And Edith, she's just not going to hear it. And I love this scene when she's in the office with Alan, because she's wearing the same thing she was wearing before. So it's like, she is a practical person. She's not wearing something new every day. She's very practical and, like, she feels like the kind of person that would notice when something's up with an individual.
Yeah, she loves her gold dress, and she's gonna wear it. Too bad if you've seen it before.
But, she doesn't take these warnings seriously. She spends more and more time with Thomas, because he's supportive of her writing. He's like, this is good. And so she's automatically, hanging out with Lucille, and it's like, her creepiness alone should have been a red flag to Edith. But
yeah, every time Lucille opened her mouth, I was like, like, what's your agenda?
Yeah, exactly. And you kind of see in this one another symbol for Edith and Lucille. Lucille's a moth and Edith is a butterfly. So she's kind of like coming into her own through this film. So you see the sleeves of her dress kind of get like fuller and fuller. Also, you'll start to notice more and bigger flower details, because it's like, oh, she's like blossoming into the person she's supposed to be. But Lucille, she's a moth. She is just living in the dark. So she's always in black or blue. Like, that red dress never comes back. She's always wearing something very dark. And I love this outfit, especially the hat.
Yeah, that is a beautiful costume. Very like a My Chemical Romance Black Parade.
Yeah.
Meets Victorian-era versus Sweeney Todd Dracula. Like, it's so good.
Yeah, it's so good. And it's like, I love the black, because it's like, black you can make look good on very little money.
Hey, I know that's right.
But she's like, okay, we got the little, like, white lace details, which is probably something she added on. Don't understand the hat. Could find no notes on the hat.
It looks like a face on top of her head.
It is a face.
Oh, That's so weird.
It's a phase. I don't know why.
She loves a spooky hat, you know? She's going to, like, the Victorian-era Hot Topic and buying whatever they have in that store, you know? Just all the creepy stuff she could find.
All the creepy stuff she can find. And her and Thomas look incredible next to each other. That's one thing they kind of do low-key is, like, they match a lot. So it's like, they look good. They look like the ultimate goth kids in this scene.
They're really giving me, like, Sweeney Todd vibes. I mean, I know you haven't seen Sweeney Todd, but this, you'll see. We get all the vibes.
I've seen quite a few pictures, so I get what you're saying. And Edith, practical yet again, she's wearing that same skirt, but with this new top. And also in this, you get to see something way better that she's been wearing this whole time. It's the belt with the hands. So apparently, mourning jewelry was a thing in the Victorian era, and that belt is supposed to be made of her mother's hair.
What?
The braided part of the belt is her mother's hair.
This is why her mom keeps coming up into her bedroom every night, because she's doing weird like wrapping her dead mom's hair around her waist.
Her dad probably had that made for her. Like, when you're a woman, I will give this to you.
Wow. Thanks, Dad. I was hoping for my dead mom's hair to wrap around my waist, so thank you. This is a great gift.
Her loving hands to hold her throughout the rest of her life.
I did like the belt because when you see Edith, especially compared to Lucille, I always think of Edith as like a warm hug, you know, and the hands around her waist. It's just like you see Edith and you just feel comfortable. You're like, oh, she's a good person, like a warm hug.
She's a good person, and she has a lot of great hats in this film. She's another person. Great hats. Great hats.
We love a good hat.
We love a good hat. I was actually looking at hats today. I want to get like a white version of the black one I have. So, Edith, she's falling in love with Thomas. She's spending more and more time with them. But Mr. Cushing finds out from Mr. Hawley that, yeah, you shouldn't like these two. They're up to no good. And at a dinner party at their house, Mr. Cushing's like, I know what's up. Here's money. Leave tomorrow morning. Thomas, you gotta break her heart so she doesn't come after you. So he does. He's like, I hate you. Your novel sucks. Bye. And this dress, they called the heartbreak dress. And this is another one of those just utterly pleated head to toe, beautiful dresses. Like, it really let her move. Because the next day, she gets that letter from Thomas being like, I loved you. Your father paid me off to leave. I will marry you when I have money and can come back to get you. So when she's running to his apartment, it is so beautiful. Like, because it flows around her. It, like, conveys the energy of, like, what she's trying to do. And I love when she's running up the stairs, you can actually see her petticoats, and they're, like, light pinks and creams. And it's like, she's just a delicate little flower.
There's so much pleating. I mean, this is the film of pleating. I'm obsessed with it. It's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful, and her running pays off. Thomas is there. He's like, I'm sorry. I love you. I want to marry you.
So romantic. I mean, this is a true love story.
It's a true love story, and they real quick, you know, there's some trauma bonding, because she finds out that her father was horribly murdered.
Yeah, at the same time they're confessing their love for one another. Lucille's down at her dad's salon smashing his face in. What the
I know. That was like, and then when she has to identify the body, it was just like, ooh, girl.
This is the part, I texted you at this part, and I was like, question mark? That just scared the life out of me. I was not expecting.
I told you it was jump scary.
Well, I kind of forgot, you know, because I feel like it was kind of slow, this part of the movie, and I kind of forgot for a second. This is a Guillermo del Toro movie, so he's not afraid to shy away from blood and scary things. And when she smashed his head into the sink, that woke me up. That got my attention. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and I love that they just clearly, like, her and Thomas eloped, like, the next day, because at her funeral, she's got the sharp ring on.
Yeah. What a beautiful funeral, though.
I know. I wish you could, like, I tried finding better pictures of it. I wish you could see her hat and everything better. But it's just, he has the perfect black funeral. Everything blends together.
Yeah, it's all dark, very gothic, all blends together, very gloomy. It's hard to see the details, but the details are there if you look closely.
And Edith, she's ready to escape. She's ready to go to England after our break. Are you ready to go to England, Spencer?
I mean, I looked up the Google Maps on this house, and I would maybe have second thoughts about traveling to England, but she does it anyway, so let's do it.
1890. No Google Maps.
Okay, let's take a break.
Are you happy to be in England, Spencer?
Not sure yet, but yes, I'm ready.
Edith, she's not sure yet either, because Arundel Hall, the Sharp Estate, not quite what she imagined. All the red clay is a bit messy, to say the least. And a less than warm welcome from Lucille, who just, refuses to relinquish her place as mistress of the house, and her unwillingness to let her and Thomas get closer. You know, it puts her off a little bit at first.
Yeah, this place is a dump.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that they were like, oh, we lost our fortune, yada, yada. But Mr. Sharp should have been like, hey, the place is real sketchy, dumpy looking. The ceiling's not even there. It's snowing inside. That's a red flag, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, red flag. And I'm like, what were your ancestors thinking building their home on, red clay? It's sinking.
Yeah, I was so confused at first. I was like, what is going on here? I, for some reason, missed that it was clay in the first part of this movie. I was like, is this blood? What is going on? Is it paint? What's happening? Clay makes sense. What a pretty nasty neighborhood to live in.
I know. And she comes into this house looking so gorgeous. She has this beautiful jacket with, the capelet on top, all of these little flowers, all of which were handmade, by the way. They handmade every single one of those flowers. But it's that whole, she's blossoming. So, the flowers on this are bigger than they have been in the past. And then also underneath, you'll see she has a gold yellow dress on again. And this time it's a little more of a yellow gold than, a true gold, because she is now the canary in the coal mine. She is not... things are not good for her. She doesn't know that yet. So she just has her fabulous flowers, even in the back of her hat.
I love that you said canary in a coal mine. That's such a cool way to put it. I didn't even think of that.
That's exactly what they were going for. Because it's from the moment she steps in that house, it's she's dead. There's not supposed to be any getting out for her. And we finally get to see, Lucille's just at-home wear, which I'm like, this is pretty fancy for just wearing around your dilapidated house. This one, they hand-painted to try and, show you just how skeletal she really is. And one of the things with this film is they had to make a ton of multiples because, things get rough, things get nasty. But, the, applique and stuff, they would, detach it and then put it on the duplicates so that, they didn't have to have as many of those.
I can't believe they made multiples of these dresses. That's insane.
They had to.
I mean, I know that's pretty common, but, these are so exquisite. This blue velvet that we're looking at, I mean, it's built like a Grecian statue with all the drape on it. It's so stunning, and it feels very, decaying with the applique. It feels like she's been wearing this for years and years and years. The house is growing onto her. It's so cool.
Yeah, and it's really the only thing she wears throughout the rest of the movie. But Edith is okay, whatever. I'm just gonna settle into my new house, creepy sister-in-law aside. But things get a little bit hard when she starts seeing ghosts again, and not just her mother's ghost. creepy obviously they're ghosts. They're dead. Creepy, half-dead looking ghosts, red ghosts, crawling throughout the house. But she's like, what's going on? And Thomas is like, there's shadows. You're getting used to the place. It's fine. So she's like, okay, guess I'm just going to try to get to know the two of you better. And back in America, Ethan's like, how did Mr. Cushing die? This is suspect.
Very sus.
But I love this bathing scene, and like just the even the little things you don't see very often are so beautiful. Oh
yeah, I love that beige color on her, and I love like the netting on it, the crochet almost. It feels the fabrics tell such a story in this film, and it feels like very decayed, very kind of Haunted Mansion-esque. It's so beautiful. It's something like if you were to crack open a coffin, this is what like said corpse would be wearing. But it's still very like lively and beautiful on her in the present day.
Yeah, and I love the netting, because it's almost like, oh, this is your fish getting caught in their net. Like, this is your first step of that.
Ooh, some imagery there.
Thank you. But again, I love how she mixes fabrics, because the netting is very prominent, but then it's this beautiful, like, silk patterned for the rest of it, but it just blends beautifully together.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This is the first time you get to see her classic nightgown with all the pleating in the world, and with how the light shines through it, you're like, oh, yeah, they chose this for a very specific reason, but more on that later. She's just trying to get to know the new place, and again, these beautiful robes. Like, I forgot about this one, with the huge sleeves, the like leaf motif all over it. I'm just like, why are these stunning? Like, every single time.
I love how all of the gowns in this movie are like always trailing behind the characters, because there's so much happening on the like floors. For example, in the mansion, she's like pushing through snow or pushing through leaves. When they're outside, they're dragging behind like the red clay behind them, and it looks like blood. Like the characters are just like trailing blood behind them. It's so interesting and just like great storytelling. The costumes are carrying this movie for me right now.
Yeah, they are. And it's just like, as you said, I love like that they're on the ground, because it's like, that's so foreboding, because it's like, how can you protect yourself in something like that? And there we have Alan starting to get it together, finally wearing a jacket in public.
Oh, that's nice of him. A very sophisticated looking jacket. Good job, Ethan.
Very sophisticated, very brown. He's always wearing brown. I'm like, you could have had a little bit more fun.
Especially since everything behind him is brown, so it kind of gets lost a little bit.
I know, but I think that's part of the point. Like, he doesn't quite know what's going on. He knows something's up. He just doesn't know what. But Edith, she doesn't know anything's amiss quite yet. She's exploring the house and just having strange encounter after strange encounter. She finally finds a trunk with the name Enola in the basement, and she's just like, I don't know what's going on. So again, we have this yellow gold, and they called this the Nancy Drew dress, because it's the one she's always like exploring in. On the sleeves, again, she has those big flowers, big sleeves, and I love just the detail that went into these.
I am a huge fan of the sleeves in this film. I believe are they called leg of mutton sleeves?
Yeah. Yeah,
that was one of my favorite patterns. For some reason, when I was in college and I had to sew things all the time, I was always giving them Lego mutton sleeves. And
just making it harder for yourself.
Literally, I was all the time. And my patterning teachers would be like, okay, it looks nice, but like, why are you doing this to yourself all the time? I was just obsessed with that sleeve. I love like the billowing coming out from the shoulder. It's one of my favorite all-time silhouettes. I think I've just always had a big love for like Victorian fashion and costuming. One of my all-time favorite shows is Penny Dreadful with Ava Green, and this just reminds me of that. It's so beautiful, and I'm obsessed with the flower motifs too, like you mentioned out. I didn't notice that the first time.
Yeah, it's very subtle, but it really speaks a lot about her character. And then again, I'm like, girl, you gotta stop, like, creeping around at night. But every time she carries this candlestick, just the way the light comes through her sleeves, I'm like, oh, it's so creepy.
Oh, that's so magical, though. I was suspicious. I was like, I bet you all these red corpse ghosts that she's seeing, I bet you it's because they're buried in the clay somewhere. And when I saw this basement scene, I was like, oh, there's bodies in there somewhere.
I know.
Which is cool because it's like the ghost, when you see them, they're representing how they looked when they died, which we'll see later on specifically.
Yeah. So Edith, she's like, what's with this trunk? She tries to confront Thomas about all of this, but he's like preoccupied with the business. He's like trying to get this machine to work, and she's trying to talk to him about it, and he's like, da-da-da-da. Winter's coming, the snow turns red, we turn into Crimson Peak, and she's like, excuse me?
Where?
Where are we? He's like, Crimson Peak. She's like, oh, no, Mother was right.
That's so funny. She's like, wait, my dead mom told me not to go here several times.
Always listen to your dead mother. I feel like that should be a rule in life. Listen to your dead mother. If she comes back to tell you something, it's important.
Both of our moms are listening to this podcast right now, like,
I know. Both of our mothers are very much alive, so we don't need to worry about that.
Very much alive. Sorry, Mom. I do listen to you when you're alive, too.
Yeah. Just like, I will extra listen to you if you come back with a message from the beyond.
I actually will. I feel like I'll be less motivated to listen to my mom if she's passed. If she starts haunting me in my house, it's fully because my mom knows I'm afraid of stuff like ghosts, and she'll be doing it just to mess with me in the afterlife.
Yeah, but if she like gives you a message like, beware of Sunset Boulevard on August 29th, you'll stay away from Sunset Boulevard on August 29th.
Yeah, that's fair. Did I tell you that my mom, just to scare me as a kid, this was her parenting way? Do you remember the show Scare Tactics?
Vaguely. I don't think I was allowed to watch it.
Yeah, well, okay. The premise of the show is it's like a hidden camera show where you set up like your friend or your girlfriend or your mom, and then they play a prank on them, like a scary prank with ghosts or goblins or zombies or clowns. And it's scary, and then at the end they'd be like, are you scared? And they'd be like, yeah, because you're on Scare Tactics. My mom used to threaten me and be like, you better watch out, because one of these days I'm going to put you on Scare Tactics.
Oh, no.
And I would always be like, no, Mom, please. So I feel like as a ghost, my mom would just be like living all her fantasies of scaring me.
Probably.
Anyways.
Edith, however, Edith is really on a real life episode of Scare Tactics. So she's officially freaked out. And then back in America, Alan is just so suspicious of the Sharps. He finds Mr. Hawley and is like, what do you know about these people? And he's like, well, I know Thomas Sharp is already married to someone who's not Edith.
Ooh.
And Alan's like, uh-oh, I gotta go save her.
Yeah, this isn't good.
But I love this green and yellow number she's wearing.
I bet you do. It's nice. Like I said, the velvet, I love like that cactus green on her. It looks so good with the yellow. The color schemes are just chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss. Like, this is really, it's one of the first things she wears that kind of fits into the house. A lot of what she wears does not fit into the house, but this, you kind of get that, like, oh, she's growing into this house.
Wow, that's so interesting. I've never seen that before. Like, the pieces, like, on her shoulders that connect to the neck, it's like a plant or a flower or something that's coming out of her neck.
Yeah, they're probably supposed to be like little berries or something.
It's so interesting. It's so odd and interesting at the same time, but beautiful. We're going to have to post a lot of these photos on our Instagram or something so people could see all the detail.
Oh, yeah. But things are not getting so beautiful for her. And she's just like beginning to fall ill. She finds the house unbearable because all of these ghosts are reaching out to her. And she's finally able to escape for a night when she and Thomas get snowed into the local town. She's just like, ugh, finally some peace and quiet alone with my man.
Yeah, it worked out for her in the end. Eyebrows.
It did work out for her in the end. Absolutely. And then back in America, not only does Alan find out that Thomas was already married, but that Lucille is suspected of her mother's murder. And he's like, uh-oh. And then Edith becomes extremely suspicious when Lucille, she is furious the next morning when they come home.
Oh my goodness. A full-on tantrum.
Tantrum that they spent the night away from the house. And Edith is like, I don't know what's going on, and I don't know why I got a letter from Milan. I have no idea who this is from.
I screamed and jumped off my couch when she slammed those eggs down onto the counter. I gotta go.
Right?
I will start running down the street.
And then the way she looks like, oh my gosh, what could have happened?
Yeah, and Edith is like, are you mad because
I did nothing wrong.
I was just with my husband for a night? Oof. Jessica Chastain killed this role.
She kills this role. I love what she wears into town, because that's the same jacket or coat she wore when she came to the house, just with all the flowers removed. I was like, I love how they reuse stuff.
If you look at the flowers on her hat, though, it's almost like the flowers have kind of a decayed look now. You know, like the color in her is slowly leaving, and the flowers are slowly starting to like crumple up and get dark and really kind of gray, which is pretty telling of what's going on in her life right now.
Exactly. Things aren't going great. Alan, still brown. I'm like, why is everything in America brown?
I'm not a brown person at all.
Even Mr. Hawley, I'm like, you blend into everything as well. Makes a bit more sense. Stop eating the peanuts.
The Americans in this movie are really getting showed up right now.
I know. It's sad. Edith, though, I could not get a good picture of what she wears to bed. It just wasn't possible. This is the best I could do.
I believe eventually ends up in being nothing to bed, if you get what I'm saying.
Probably. But her, like, chemise is, like, this beautiful lace. And it's, like, she has that pinkish petticoat on. And it's like, girl, you're ready for this.
It almost looks like Tom Hiddleston's wearing, like, a green suspenders for a little bit. I'm like, okay, Loki, calm down.
I couldn't figure it out, but I think he's actually wearing a deep green for a lot of this movie. It just shows up as black. Yeah.
It's not helping in the sense that he looks a lot like Loki right now.
No, it doesn't.
But that was a nice sexy, no, not gonna lie.
I know. I was like, Loki's ass. All right.
You don't get this in a Marvel movie.
No, you don't.
But it was also confusing, though, because I'm like, does Thomas actually have feelings for Edith? And at this moment, I was like, I think he does. Mm-hmm. He's just like also wrapped up in this very evil scheme, but he's low-key falling for Edith.
He is falling for Edith big time, but this is the last peaceful night either of them are going to have. Spencer, are you ready for the dramatic conclusion after our break?
Yeah, I need to take a break. I'm still winding down from that sex scene, so I need a couple minutes.
Everybody take a couple minutes. We'll be right back.
Are you ready for probably the worst couple nights of this young couple's lives?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Things only get darker and darker from here.
Yeah.
Because Edith opens up that mysterious letter. It's from Enola, the woman whose trunk is in the basement. And she begins to realize the Sharps, they're only after her money, and she still has not transferred over all of her estate. So she's like, oh my gosh, I only have till this money is here to live. So she gets into investigation mode. She finds out that Thomas has not been married just one time before, but 3. They have all been killed by poison, and she herself is becoming too ill to escape. However, Alan has come to England after finding out that Lucille murdered their mother. And by listening to the ghosts, Edith finds Lucille and Thomas in bed together.
Okay. Do I sense another incest scene on the Art of Costume Blogcast?
There's been too much incest recently.
Every episode we do, there's some sort of incest now.
This was a lot. Like, Alan comes during that storm, and I'm like, dude, hang on a second. I mean, he gets there just in time. However,
I will say, you're probably not going to like where I'm going with this, but Tom Hiddleston and Jessica Chastain do make a cool couple, though. Just saying. If we walked away.
She has been grooming him since he was a child.
I'm not saying they're characters. I'm saying as actor and actress, they look cute together.
They do have... Yes. Okay. I'll give you that. Anyway. So the ghosts really come out in this third act in a big way. Once they realize, like, Edith is on their side and that she knows she needs to escape, they're like, girl, your husband is sleeping with his sister.
Also, they're psychopaths.
She's definitely a psychopath. He's just been listening to her. But yeah, so what you were saying about their bodies being red because of the red clay, that's absolutely what they were going for. And he really just wanted them to have a humanity in them, but still look way different than like any other ghosts we've seen before. Edith's mother and Lady Sharp are actually played by Doug Jones.
Wow.
Who is in a lot of Guillermo del Toro movies.
The legendary Doug Jones.
Legendary. He's an amazing, amazing character actor. And I'm like, Of course he was the main ghost.
The legendary Doug Jones has played so many of my favorite characters. He was in Hellboy. He was in Hocus Pocus, who played Billy Butcherson. He was in Pan's Labyrinth, Shape of Water. I mean, Doug Jones is just a legend. I love him so much.
He's an incredible performer. And, like, he makes these ghosts, like, they look so creepy. And, like, the fact that they're, like, actual actors, mostly prosthetic, like, it's really not performance capture. It's a lot of prosthetics that they enhance with digital effects.
They're so artistic. They are built like artistic sculptures.
Yeah, it's just incredible. Also incredible, these final nightgowns.
I agree. They are incredible. So beautiful. Jessica Chastain, my God, she's just glowing all the time. Her skin is radiant.
Yeah. Like, that nightgown drapes perfectly around her. The robe with the red belt, it's just like, girl, she's getting it. And she's trying to get Edith. So Edith runs off after seeing them in bed together. Lucille chases her and just pushes her off the stairs just as Alan is coming up to the door.
Yeah, talk about awkward. Alan was like, what are you guys doing?
What's happening? And they're just like, oh, it's fine. No, we're going to try to murder both of you. Thomas, though, he's doing everything he can to help them escape because he has fallen in love with Edith. Like, he does not care about, he cares about his sister, but he's like, this is not right. Like, we need to get out of this.
He's having a come to earth moment here at Crimson Peak.
He is. He's like, we gotta stop doing this. And she straight up murders him. Just stabby, 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 knife through the face. He's dead. That was horrific.
That was horrific. I was so mad. I literally picked up my phone and I was getting ready to call Elizabeth while she was at a theme park and be like, what kind of garbage movie are making me watch? I felt so nauseous. That was messed up.
And, like, he falls into the chair and you think, like, he's just gonna die, but then he pulls the knife out. Oh,
my God. I could feel it. Like, it was in my eyeball when I was watching it.
It's a lot. And then she's distraught over killing him. So she just chases Edith through the house until Edith kills her with the help of Thomas's ghost. And she and Alan walk away from the house as the townspeople are like, so what's going on up here?
Hey, we heard some commotion. I got a call about domestic disturbance.
This American guy told us to come up here when the storm was done.
I was in love with the end of this movie. It felt like such a cool horror moment. I love the scene when Lucille was just chasing Edith through these really creepy moth-covered hallways. And like so typical horror movie fashion, just running with a knife and chasing Edith. I was in love with it. This is such a fun horror movie moment. It was so cool.
It is. And so Kate Hawley did an interview with Jezebel, and she says this about the nightgowns. She's like a chrysalis at this point. So the butterfly is dying and becoming this little husk. It's all about running around in night dresses through long corridors that also blended to the fabric. When Guillermo said to me, it's about a house that breathes, that's why we chose the lightest fabric. Just a little thing to try and help the storytelling with the idea of the house.
So beautiful. Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite things with which you and I have talked about is the idea of storytelling through costume design. How costumes have the power to really just tell the story through color and through movement. And this movie was just pinnacle that idea. I mean, the way the costumes moved, the way they breathed, the way they trailed in the red clay, and the decaying colors.
The way the light shows through them.
Yeah, it's just like, this was epic costuming. I'm so glad we watched this movie together because it was so fun.
It was so epic. And just like as the red clay and the blood is staining her dress, it's just like, it's destroying it, but it's also making it more beautiful. And then just like when Lucille runs down those steps, the way her like the sleeves and the skirt and the nightgown just like billow all the way down. It's like, oh my gosh.
And the way that the color of the like crimson red blood on her costumes against like the white snow too, it's just, color was so strong in this movie. I'm obsessed with it. And
finally, Thomas does something right after he's dead.
Yeah. I would be so mad if I were Thomas, if I had to be a ghost now with that big ol' ugly knife wound under my eye.
I know.
I'd be like, dang it, Lucille, you're coming with me. This is messed up.
Well, he has to be a ghost in the same house she's a ghost in.
She's haunting the house from now on. But it's Thomas because he disappeared. Like, I feel like he was avenged, so he disappeared. Does he have to stay there?
I don't know. That's a great question.
Because Lucille is going to be playing the piano for all eternity.
Yeah.
Until, like, a bunch of teenagers buy the house and move in there and find the piano.
Yeah. Find the bodies in the basement. Hopefully the townspeople got the bodies in the basement now.
Yeah. Like, you guys might want to check around the basement. It's pretty sketchy. And that brings us to the end of Crimson Peak.
Such a beautiful movie.
Such a beautiful movie and such a great start to spooky season here at the Art of Costume Blogcast. This was a great pick.
This was just like a little spook.
I'm telling you, that knife to the eyeball, I almost took off running down the street. I was like, what? That was messed up. Of course, though. Like, I should have known. It's a Guillermo del Toro film. What was I expecting?
Yeah, no. There's a lot of violence, but it's kind of like spread out throughout the film. And it's like, when it's violent, it is violent.
And I love the idea that, like, it's hyped up to be, like, the scary ghost story. The scary parts of the movie are not the ghosts, though. That's the thing. It's like, these creepy incestual siblings, they're the scary part of this house.
Yeah, and it's like the ghosts are only trying to help. And also, in the book she's writing, she talks about, like, oh, the ghost is just a symbol for the past.
Mind you, the ghosts were not the best messengers. I mean, they could work on, like, their communication skills because they really approached Edith in a creepy way every time. Like, the one carrying her dead baby, I was like, ma'am.
That's Lucille's baby. That's Lucille's and Thomas's baby.
But I know, but I'm saying the messaging, I wonder why Edith ran away screaming every time.
I'm just like, it all goes back to her mother. Her mother should have just said, stay away from Thomas Sharp, Baronet.
She literally could have been like, Edith, if you ever meet Tom Hiddleston, run the opposite direction.
Run. If you see a Loki, run.
A Loki variant. We're going to be seeing a lot of those.
We are going to be seeing a lot of those. What are we watching next week, Spencer?
Next week, we are watching one of the greatest Marvel TV shows out there. There's not that many. Loki.
Yeah.
We are going to be watching Loki with Tom Hiddleston.
We will not be watching it with Tom Hiddleston. We don't have those kind of connections.
Oh, I mean, he's in it. He won't be here. Sorry. To anyone who just got excited.
Okay.
Tom Hiddleston will not be joining us, though I guess I do have about a week to make that happen, so maybe I'll work on it.
You do that.
I don't think you would be able to concentrate if Tom Hiddleston was in this Zoom right now.
I wouldn't.
That would be terrible.
I'd just be constantly embarrassing myself.
I would pay for that, actually.
Oh, no.
Oh, that would be funny. If someone out there who's friends with Tom Hiddleston, please, hook me up. Let's make this happen for Elizabeth.
No. So embarrassing.
That or Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh, that would be even worse.
Thank you all for listening.
Share us with your friends. If you know someone who likes costumes, share us with them. If you know someone who hates costumes, share us with them. We'll change their minds.
Yeah, I want to have a talking to with them. I'm going to maybe get engaged to them and bring them to my creepy mansion in England that's sitting on top of a clay deposit.
Anybody worried about that? I will call the police. So don't worry about it.
See you all next week.
See you next week. The Art of Costume Blogcast is hosted by Elizabeth Joy Glass and Spencer Williams.
Produced by Elizabeth Joy Glass with associate producer Spencer Williams.
Our sound design and engineering is done by Daniel White.
Follow us on Instagram at The Art of Costume Pod.
Or visit theartofcostumeblogcast.com for all blogcast updates.
For more costume reviews, deep dives, and interviews, visit theartofcostume.com.
A blog dedicated to highlighting the best in costume design.